Oh, well, good morning, Bakersfield, surrounding communities, and everybody watching online on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Yeah, I made you laugh on that one, didn't I? This is the Early Bird Special. I'm Chris Burdick. That is Sparky. Sparky, good morning, my friend.
Man, is it just me or is that Heyman intro just hit a little different today?
Every time,
Well,
man.
just a little bit
Hey,
different today.
I'm going to sit here and say that man had no clue what was going to
He
happen
played it
last
well.
night.
He
He
played
did.
it
He
well.
absolutely did. What else are they into
But we're
today?
going to talk, of course, we'll talk the double header from the NFL last night, plus the double header in baseball playoffs. Boom is all I have to say. And we'll get into WWE. We'll have a lot to talk about with our boy 24KG, who also just won an award, but
Yes.
I'll let him break it down for you.
I know I didn't want to actually spoil it, but if you follow him on social media, you know what we're talking about, and it's a well-deserved award.
Well deserved.
Well-deserved.
We'll get into that and much more at 8 o'clock. We've got some miscellaneous news we could talk about, plus some breaking news. If you're a downtown, we opened up Reverb Coffee yesterday. The house was packed, which is a good thing. It was day one, and it's it's not a big announcement because we're not allowed to say it on social media. So if anyone from MoneyWise is listening, just hit me when you see me in a couple
Turn
hours.
your radio off.
But I will say the Woolworths Diner will open today for a short amount of time from 11 to 3. They're trying to work out the corks and the training, but all week this week it'll be open from 11 to 3 if you'd like to stop and get some lunch.
Is Pitzer's beer available too?
I believe so.
Ooh.
Yeah. And there is, I believe, 10 to 12 beers on tap, all local. So
I might know where I'm going to lunch later
it's
this
11
week.
to 3 this week. You know, we have our grand opening October 25th. Join us downtown. It'll be from 2 to 7. We got 5 local bands playing, and that's when it'll actually kick off, where Woolworths will be open from 10:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. at night.
Yee.
But we'll get into some sports, and I know what you want to talk about first.
Oh, of course.
How about them Falcons, baby?
What did I tell y'all?
What
have I been saying?
I picked them.
I'm proud of you. I am very proud of you. What was I saying last Friday, though, Sparky? The Falcons are undefeated on Monday night games since Dan Quinn was the coach. Now, mind you, that was back in what, 2015? Undefeated.
Hey, I'll take it.
Undefeated with those red helmets on, too.
And what happened to the Bills, man? That's 2 losses back to back.
Look, it's football. It's the NFL. Any given Sunday, I realize that. But let's give flowers where flowers are due. Atlanta's defense is for real.
Yep.
Number 1 defense in the NFL right now, usurping both the Broncos and the Cleveland Browns. And no, the bye week has nothing to do with it. If you look at it statistically, including averages and stuff, they still are number 1 in the league. And this is being led by 2 rookie defensive ends who have been studs in Walker and Pierce. But I didn't expect that last night. Holding the MVP of the NFL to 180 yards, 2 interceptions, 4 sacks, something that I'm not used to at all as a Falcons fan, to be honest with you. And calling out Pro Football Focus once again. And I know you guys listen, so you better start talking about it. I want a full apology to Michael Penix.
I need to get that.
Full apology for your guys' hogwash a couple weeks ago of saying, he's a bust. We got to accept he's a bust. I still want to know your guys' reasoning on that, by the way, besides the fact that you guys just needed some clickbait for Atlanta fans. Michael Penix is a dude. This defense is for real. Atlanta wins 24-14. I tried to tell y'all last week, this is why you got to start listening to us here on the Early Bird Special. You're going to get the right info right here on this show. And I'm telling you, I agree what's going on with Buffalo. Not 100% sure. The wide receivers couldn't get open. I know we got A.J. Terrell back last night, who did a fantastic job guarding Keon Coleman throughout the game. And they lost Palmer halfway through this one as well, which was a big hit. And they're also missing a handful of pieces. Not anywhere near the detriment that, the Niners or the Ravens have to deal with. But the Buffalo Bills are not at 100%. But that being said, neither was Atlanta. And I think at this point, Atlanta's stars just stepped up when they needed to. We had a career day from Bijan Robinson, over 230 yards.
Thank you.
Career day, in my opinion, for Drake London, who continues to show everybody that he's probably the most underrated wide receiver 1 in the NFL right now. Mike Evans 2.0, I like to call him, because he's just the pinnacle of consistency, baby. And I love to see it as a Falcons fan. But if
What, did
you're
he get all the passes?
yeah, pretty dang much. At this point, I don't
Hey,
care.
I'll take it. I
Throw
went
it.
6-1 in fantasy thanks to a couple of those guys.
We didn't have Darren Mooney in this game. Kyle Pitts is still Kyle Pitts, but he's at least having a progressively better season than we've had him for the last 2 years. So realistically, offensively, they're trucking. We're getting moving. I still stand by my statement that this is the best 1-2 running back tandem in the league when it comes to Bijan and Tyler Algier, because Tyler Algier is a starter on anybody else's team. And if you want to text in and call me an idiot and give me the reasons why I'm wrong, feel free. 661-842-2000. But as a fan of this team that's been watching them since God I can remember, this is probably the first time I've looked at them, including the years with Matt Ryan and Julio Jones, and said, oh, we got a squad across the board. The worst people on our team right now are the kicker and the punter, and that's how I like it. That's exactly how I like it. So personally, I think it was a great game last night. Obviously,
it was like Coach McDermott says, we got to reset and pretty much start from scratch.
Yep.
And again, luckily they're having a bye week after 2 losses,
Yep.
and I would expect Buffalo to come back. And I mean, I wouldn't expect it, but I mean, the trade deadline's coming up in a couple weeks. They might be going after a receiver.
Now, I don't think Buffalo's in that big of an issue right now, or at least having that big of a problem. But I agree with you. Something needs to change.
They need somebody, because Josh Allen looked like he was just trying to force the ball anywhere and everywhere. And I don't know if it'd be Atlanta's defense and New England's defense, but this is 2 weeks in a row that Buffalo just looks out of mix.
And it might just be that maybe they've just schemed it where they know, okay, if we just make Josh the one option for them the entire time, he's going to mess up every so often, because there's only so much your quarterback can do.
And obviously Kincaid not being there, that was one of his big targets. But hey, a win's a win. I wouldn't know much about him, but a win's a win. And I would go into that Bears Commanders game, which was a hell of a game.
13-0 run at first for the Bears. I thought for sure this was going to be one of those games where they just walk away. And Ben Johnson had figured it out. But again,
Swift is all over the place.
Yep. But Dan, you got to give Dan Quinn his due, man. You really do. When Dan Quinn needs his defense to step up, they do. And that's exactly what the Washington Commanders did to come back in this game. Jaden Daniels, as long as you got him at quarterback, you're always going to have a shot. And to surge back and take that lead in the fourth quarter, it was a great thing to see for Washington. But I feel like I have to go back to the point we made a couple weeks ago, which is any team in the NFL now you can't give time to. You just can't. You have to waste that clock. At any point in time, if you leave 45 seconds even on the clock, no matter who it is, they have a chance to come back and beat you, especially if all they need is a field goal.
Yeah, we just saw it in Miami.
Yep, and with these kickers being able to bomb 50, 60-yard kicks now as if it's just, it's the easiest thing in the world for them.
That's something else I read. I know we've talked about the K-balls, and even kickers are saying they can kick, anywhere from 8 to 10 yards deeper than they really could before.
I didn't think the K-balls were going to be that much of a difference, to be honest with you, but I guess they are. Being worn in to be kicked, I guess, must make that much of a difference.
And with Jake Moody just coming off the practice squad and drilling a game-winning
his career,
nice.
God. But see, again, Jake Moody, for all Niner fans who are probably listening to this show right now, saying the same thing I'm about to. Give it 2 to 3 weeks, he'll miss a couple kicks, and you'll realize real quick why he was on your practice squad. But at the end of the day, saving their game, saving his career, really, you got to love the story, at least, for Jake Moody, somebody who was really swiftly on his way out of football after I don't want to say it was lackluster. Let's just say his time with the Niners was lackluster. They thought he was going to be that kicker that was going to be the difference maker for him. It never worked out. And they finally just said this year, you know what? We'll find somebody that can make more kicks than you, because you missed too many of them, to be honest. So I love seeing these guys bounce back in their careers and actually have some sort of success going forward. But when it comes down to the Bears, do you think they figured it out? This is now 3 straight wins for Ben Johnson and this Bears team. And to be honest with you, they've looked good. There hasn't really been a point in these games where I'm sitting there wondering, okay, maybe they haven't figured that part out yet. I think Caleb is really starting to flow in this offense, and that might be a problem for everybody in the NFC North. Because if the Bears can figure this out and become a high-functioning, high-scoring offense, even against guys like the Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions, you could put up a pretty good fight. And both of those teams right now are in, I don't want to say disarray, but both coming off some pretty questionable performances, even though the Packers won.
And they got some tough games ahead. And the Bears, I mean, they look like they're putting it together.
Could you imagine if Ben Johnson gets this team to surge and take the NFC North away from both of those teams this year?
I could see it.
That would be an incredible story.
And something I wanted to bring up, I know we've got a ton of NFL stuff to talk about, but just looking at this injury list ahead of week 7, which we'll implement tomorrow with our waiver Wednesday, but I'm looking at Marvin Harrison, the rookie receiver in Tampa, as well as Godwin, Evans, Gesicki, even Trey Hendrickson for Cincinnati's out. You know, Puka, J1 Jennings, Fred Warner's out for the season. I mean, these guys, it happens every week, and it seems like it's just stacking and stacking. I understand football, it's football. People get hurt. But, I mean, a lot of these players are dropping, and I don't know if that's something their NFL has to look in, extending practices with pads.
You have to. I mean, I think John Gruden has been the biggest spokesman for this, and I think he's right. When you really take away those physical practices, especially during the training camp days, you take away those times where your body is just getting acclimated to that kind of abuse. And abuse isn't a great word to use, but that's what it is. Your body's going through a lot of trauma, a lot of just hits. And if it's not acclimated to that, you have a higher likelihood of getting hurt at some point in time, especially with some of these joint injuries. The only ones that, I mean, you can't necessarily plan for, I guess, would be the ACLs and MCLs and all of those popping. You never want to see those, but that happens in sports all the time. But these, injuries that are happening from hits, the ones that are, these guys are getting hit in the sternum and they're, dealing with a shoulder injury, that kind of stuff, although wear and tear is a thing as well, I feel like your body would probably just take easier, or at least you'd be able to heal from it better if you had more time with pads on and got acclimated, like I said, to the abuse that you were taking or getting ready to take in the season. Now, there is an injury, though, that I want to highlight that kind of made me scratch my head, and I had texted Sparky about this yesterday, and that's Garrett Wilson. I know Garrett Wilson got hurt at the end of that game in London, but now they're saying that he could be out for multiple weeks with this injury. I have to wonder if this is legitimate or not, especially with the altercation that happened between him and head coach Glenn on the sideline during this game. And if you think that these athletes don't, quote unquote, fake injuries to not play, to, send a message to their coach, yeah, I wouldn't be really taking that and putting it out of the realm of possibility. What are your thoughts on this?
I saw the play where he got hurt, and it looked like he landed.
Legitimate?
He landed funky, and he wanted to get back in the game, of course. But I don't know. It was an awkward landing because the pass was off target, which is concerning with the Jets in general. But
which is wild. Before you go on, I mean, sorry to cut you off, but Justin's the only one that hasn't thrown a pick yet.
Because he throws 9 passes a game.
I know, but at the same time, I'm like, can the defense not even catch your ball? Like that's pretty sad. I apologize. Continue.
No, I just think that, I mean, the injury looked serious from what I saw. It was just an awkward landing.
But see,
I mean, the Jets got bigger issues.
From your mind, I agree with you 100% on that one. But in your mind, while watching that, and obviously knowing he wanted to come back in the game, so the injury couldn't have been that serious to at least keep you out multiple weeks. Like, that's kind of different. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, we could see it, the momentum and, wanting to get into the game when it's the last 2 plays of the game. I could see, but I mean, it could be concerning of just guys that aren't having good seasons and aren't on pace with what they were told as a coach when they were signing deals. Like we talked about, the guy's probably wants out. And I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't ask for a trade next.
That's honestly the first thing I went to was this to me, because I agree with you. He did get injured. There's still there's reason to believe he got hurt. This isn't a Lamar Jackson thing where we're all scratching our heads wondering where it happened. But when you're trying to come back in the game, I realize that, adrenaline and all that can mask a lot of your injury pain. So maybe that's just what it was. But this just doesn't seem right to me. You're 0-6. You just got into an altercation with your head coach. Yes, you got injured, but during the game, you were pleading to get back into the game, which means to me, the injury is not that serious. Maybe it keeps you out a week, but multiple weeks, that doesn't really make sense to me at all.
Unless, a loss probably hurt a little bit more.
That's what I'm saying. So I wouldn't be surprised if this was more boiling down to a frustration injury, quote, like,
He's a little more butthurt than actually injured.
exactly. And he wants to send a message to not only his head coach, but maybe the rest of this offense that, you get me the ball, we might actually win a game. You never know. But let's take a break real quick. On the other side, we got some developments and some stories that we've been talking about, including Tua's story from yesterday. McDaniels, amongst others, have come out and talked about, was that a good idea for Tua to call out his teammates? And for those of you who have been following this NBA scandal with the Clippers, we have a development in that story as well, as it seems like the NBA may have greenlit that entire sponsorship between the Clippers and the tree trimming service. This is the Early Bird Special right here on ESPN Bakersfield, 101.1 FM, 1230 AM. Welcome back. This is the Early Bird Special right here on ESPN Bakersfield, 101.1 FM, 12:30 a.m., as well as streaming video every single weekday from 7 to 9 on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Like, share, subscribe, all that type of good stuff. Hit the bell, and you'll be able to see every single day when we go live. Which one do you want to get into first? Should we get into this Tua development? Should we get into the Penn State coaching races? I mean,
we lost the NFL coach yesterday.
yeah, we did. I mean, the Titans finally letting go of Coach Callahan. I mean, if there has been another NFL franchise in the last 2 to 3 years that has been in more firing and hirings than anybody, it's the Tennessee Titans. I mean, they fired two GMs. They were on their third GM in I think 3 years. Now firing Callahan, bringing in McCoy to be the heir apparent for now. Don't know if he's going to be there next year, but I guess we'll see if he's able to turn around this team and help Cam Ward really excel as a rookie quarterback. But do we feel bad for Tennessee? Because, I mean, we've talked about this for the last couple of weeks. I mean, even when the season started, we came into it knowing they were not going to be a good football team. And people were even saying when they drafted Cam Ward, hey, you're still awful, but at least you're watchable now.
I think they screwed up when they let Vrabel go, personally. But looking at the last 4 quarterbacks that have taken number 1, they've all had their coaches fired. Going back to Trevor Lawrence, we talk about Bryce.
To be fair, Urban Meyer got himself fired, though.
Yeah, but my question is, if obviously your team is bad if you're getting the number 1 pick.
100%.
But are these teams not setting themselves up with the coach quarterback combination? Should they fire the coach before they go into the draft room thinking, okay, we're going to go with quarterbacks? Or, I mean, is it really screwing up the development of these quarterbacks? I mean, we saw the same thing with, Drake May, who was benched with OJ. And now he looks like he's in the candidate of, whether it's comeback player or MVP. Obviously we don't know. It's 6 weeks into the league, but I mean, obviously we knew with the Bears, they probably should have fired their coach before getting Caleb.
Eberflus should not have been the head coach at that time, I don't think.
But going down the last 4 quarterbacks that were taken number 1, is it more of the, okay, let's just see what this coach that is kind of walking on eggshells anyways?
I see your point. I think you're right. I think at least in terms of longevity of your job for an organization, bringing in a head coach right before you draft a quarterback would probably be beneficial because obviously your guys' future is tied together. And I think that was a big issue going into the season, at least with Caleb. I can't necessarily say the same thing with Trevor because, I mean, Urban Meyer
and he's gone through multiple coaches.
Yeah, exactly. But it is just one of those situations where I do think that you need to find the right coach to develop these quarterbacks. We're seeing it across the league. Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield. I mean, if the Vikings could figure this out, Carson Wentz could be the next one on this list. Indiana Jones. I need to stop calling him Danny Jones. Indiana Jones, because that's what I'm going to call him from here on out. He's another one. It really does matter where you get drafted and who's coaching you and how you're being developed. Because I mean, the easiest example as well that I could say of someone who had a bad situation would be Mac Jones. Mac came in his rookie year, actually looked pretty solid for the Patriots. Didn't help that Bill didn't like him at all. And Bill essentially sabotaged him, not giving him a suitable coach to help him develop, sending him off to defensive coaches and stuff like that just because he didn't want to deal with him. Like that's really what you risk when you have the wrong coach in there with a quarterback that you need to develop. And I think, like I said, with certain teams, like maybe Caleb, I could see why they should have probably just fired him right off the bat, gotten somebody like Ben Johnson. But who's to say that they weren't planning for Ben Johnson in the first place? And because Ben decided to stay in Detroit next year, that kind of shot themselves in the foot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it could have been the same situation we've talked about for a while, is forcing these quarterbacks in when they probably aren't ready. And I mean, if it would have benefited Caleb sitting a year and waiting for Ben Johnson to come in? Or, it's the same situation.
It's such a tricky thing to do, though.
It's the same thing with unsportsmanlike. They're talking about Glenn. We're looking at Glenn is not a head coach.
No.
It doesn't
Hell
matter
no.
who's quarterback because that whole team is falling apart.
It's awful.
And the other side are saying, well, Glenn needs 3 years. And I said, if you want
Okay.
the Jets to progress, it's not going to be in 3 years with Glenn.
Why are we so quick to just sit there and say he needs this amount of time?
But you give coaches multiple
right.
years, but you don't give these quarterbacks multiple years.
Exactly. I mean, Derek Carr said it beautifully. No team actually wants to develop a guy anymore. They just kind of want that guy to be the guy. That's never been the case. It's never been a thing. So it's a tricky situation, I realize, because obviously you want to go with your guy, especially as a GM. But it to me, at least, when you are at the top of the draft, when you're in those situations where you have to pick the right guy and develop them into your guy, if your coach isn't the guy to do that, you need to move on. You genuinely do. If you are a team that needs help on defense, you need to hire a defensive-minded head coach and have him work his magic. If you have offensive woes like the Bears did, hire someone like Ben Johnson who can come in, revamp your offense, and then make you look good, because that's all the Bears needed. The defense was actually pretty solid last year. All they needed was to revamp that offensive line and get Caleb to sit back there and throw a football, and maybe the Bears could have been successful. But everybody was so quick to throw Caleb under the bus and call him a bust after his first year. We didn't give him any leeway. So why are we okay with giving guys like Aaron Glenn leeway? Just like Sparky said, we're so quick to throw these young athletes who are actually the ones that you need to develop under the bus without even giving them a shot to actually develop into the game that they want to play. It's just that simple. And again, it's easy for us to sit here behind a microphone and say, you should have sat that guy 4 or 5 weeks and give him some time. And some of these guys, it is pretty tricky, especially with guys that you're drafting first overall, because if you don't play him right away, all the media, all of your fan base and everything else are going to be calling for your head because they think you're an idiot because you're not playing the savior. So it's a tricky situation, I realize. But at the end of the day, like you said, Spark, you have to find a way to suitably develop these quarterbacks if you want to be successple and find the right coach to do it.
We just mix and match. And
But
before
right
we take
now-
our break, we can get into the Tua stuff after the break. But
Mm.
I did want to bring up that Branch from Detroit was suspended,
A game.
but suspended a game. One game.
I knew he was going to get suspended. I thought it was going to be 2 just because of it happening at the end of the game and the whole stress on sportsmanship that they've been doing the last couple years, especially. But I think 1 game is fitting. I mean, again, it was a spur of emotion, I grant you. I just laughed that everybody on ESPN yesterday wasn't even talking about Brian Branch. They were talking about Juju getting his butt kicked.
Yep.
I'm like, seriously? That's what you guys took from this, was that Juju got his butt handed to him.
Go to the victim instead.
It's like, God, you guys can't even look at the actual problem here. We wonder why this happens. And you guys sit there and say, oh, I can't believe you did that. Well, when you guys are going on television saying, oh, did you see Juju get his butt handed to him? He grabbed his ear and everything. Little brothered him. I'm like, okay, so we're okay with this. But the minute it happens on television, everybody says Brian Branch is an unprofessional person, and that's cleaning it up. Like, you guys are so back and forth with this. What do we want? Do we want our guys fighting each other and showing emotion? Or do you want carbon copy robots that just walk the line, shake each other's hand after the game and go home?
There it is, right there.
What do you want? So
we'll take a break. We'll get into the Tua. We'll get into Penn State right after this break. We are the Early Bird Special on ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM. Welcome back. This is the Early Bird Special on ESPN Bakersfield, 101.1 FM, 12:30 AM. We are also streaming video live every single weekday from 7 to 9 as the show goes on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Follow us on all social media platforms as well, Instagram and TikTok. We're all over the place. Like, share, subscribe with your, with your friends, all that type of hoopla. Hit the bell. Not sure exactly what YouTube does anymore to, get you guys notified, but do everything possible. And you can watch us every single weekday from 7 to 9 as the show goes. And real quick, I did just get a text message from a Niner fan who brought up a very good point, too. Kyle Shanahan went out of his way to go to the GM and the owner and tell them, I'm starting our third stringer. And at that time, that third stringer was Brock Purdy. More evidence that it really does take the right coach to pick his guy and develop that guy into a stud. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if Brock Purdy doesn't play for Kyle Shanahan, he's not Brock Purdy, or at least the Brock Purdy we know. He'd still be Brock Purdy from Iowa State, but he's not Brock Purdy.
I remember that first game.
Yeah.
It was against the Dolphins.
Oh, God, it was.
And he lit us up.
Sorry, buddy.
It's all right. He's a Marino fan, so at least that was a good story to the end of it.
Let's talk a little bit about another quarterback who was making waves in some negative form yesterday, but that's Sparky's quarterback, Mr. Tua Tagovailoa. We talked about it yesterday. He came out and was, lack of a better term, calling out some of his teammates for not showing up to players' owning meetings on time and saying that maybe the vision of the team isn't exactly there. Sparky had a brilliant point yesterday that it was just bad timing. You really just don't want to do that after a loss, especially a loss like you just had.
Take it into the team meeting.
Exactly.
Not the press conference.
Maybe that's the issue, though, is that these guys aren't showing up to the team meeting. So he's got to say it.
Well, it was the individual meetings he was complaining about. But when you do it 2 minutes after the game, and yes, this loss wasn't on him, and people will bring up the 3 interceptions. One was not on him. Mm-hmm. Either way, I think he was more pissed because he finally did something right in the final 2 minutes of the game.
And it got
blown and the defense choked. So, I mean, I can get it. But I'm going to go with a linebacker, former Dolphin linebacker, Channing Crowder. And, he's been in the building. He's worked with players like this, obviously, with Miami doing the shuffle with quarterbacks for the last 20 years. But listen to what Channing Crowder had to say, and I'll get what you think about this.
I agree with him in the fact that it's embarrassing. And again, like you said yesterday, the timing of it. My only issue that I keep thinking, and I've been talking about this, is this, at least in my opinion, is going one of two ways. One, you got players who really just don't care about turning the season around, and that's a problem. It's genuinely a problem. I mean, I know Channing Crowder knows more about this than I, but at the same time, you're really going to complain about the amount of meetings you have to go to?
No, I
Really?
I think he was.
No, I
He
know.
was one of those lazy ass players.
I know. And that's my point, is that if you are serious about turning your season around, you'll go to that players only meeting.
I'll go to 15 hours of meetings if you're going to pay me
Exactly.
that money that you're paying.
I don't care how many meetings there are. You're acting as if this is like some sort of strenuous thing for you to show up to a room and talk to somebody. A meeting is a meeting. Get over it. It's not that big of a deal for you to go to a meeting.
Yeah, no one likes meetings.
No, but you do it because it's part of your job.
Yes, but you need a job, right?
Exactly. My other thing here that is the other side of this street, which now I'm starting to think about because what Crowder said, and it kind of made sense, are the players in the locker room losing respect or potentially have none for Tua, because as the starting quarterback, you should be the leader of this team. Anything you say should be gospel. And if you're calling for a players only meeting, everybody should be showing up just solely because you're the starting quarterback and you called it.
Yeah, you think if Patrick Mahomes was calling a only players meeting that someone would be late or they wouldn't show up? I think it is 100% the respect or the captain leader. I think the really big issue is the defense. And ideally, if that's the first thing that comes to mind after a loss, a close loss to a so-called playoff caliber type team, this isn't the first time. We could have beat the Bills. We could have beat the Patriots. This is 3 weeks in a row that Miami had the game in their hands and they blew it with 2 minutes left in the game. I think it's more of coaching. I don't know if it's Tua. It could be both. But I personally think it's the coaching. If Tua's coming out and the first thing that comes to mind is the meetings and the team not being, all together, calibrated into what this team needs to win a game, I think that's the problem. And I think McDaniel, I think Stephen Ross needs to clean house after this. And I think Tua is a part of it.
I appreciate what you just said because there's a lot of truth to that. Because in these meetings, I mean, let's be fair to Mr. Crowder and what he was saying. You do have to go to 7-8 hours of meetings in a day, which, when you're talking to these people about the same things, implementing the same plays and all that type of stuff, I'm sure it gets overwhelming and boring. But within those coaching meetings, you should be sharing the information you need to make the next step and develop the player and develop the game to win your next game and get back on track. So it goes back to what I said earlier. You should be going to those meetings just for that alone. And if you don't respect the coaches that are running those meetings or the players that are speaking during said meetings, I don't know if that's really more of, a declaration of how bad you are or how bad the coaching staff is. I think at the end of the day, we're going to find out with Miami because unfortunately, I do feel like McDaniels is on his way out, and he was one of the people that came out and not necessarily criticized Tua, but did say that his comments were off base. They weren't necessarily needed. But at the same time, like
without
Crowder
saying
said,
it though,
yeah,
he danced around it.
he did,
and
as
that's
he
not a
usually
coach
does.
you want.
No. And again, I've highlighted that though in the past when he knows the answer to a question or the question that's going to be asked of him.
He dances around it.
Super articulate though. He's like a politician.
In between hums and hums.
Yep. But when he doesn't know the answer or it's a sticky question that he doesn't want to answer, just like Sparky said, yeah, it like there's a stutter with it.
Yeah, it was cute in the beginning.
Yeah, but now
it's just getting old.
It's a confidence issue. It genuinely
is. And you can see it all over his face. If you watch the Dolphins, you can see it. They're in Cleveland this week. Hopefully they can step up, but I think you hit it out of the park. I think it's a bigger issue
with the leadership and just the respect of said leadership.
Yeah. And overall, as a Dolphin fan, I'm going to ride with my Dolphins till I die. But I will say we need a coach with a backbone and a quarterback that people can respect.
That's why I'm telling you right now, would not be surprised. And I'm not the one who said this. I'm just parroting what Sparky said a couple weeks ago. Brian Flores going back to Miami would be the move of the century for the Dolphins.
I could see it happening.
Get a coach that actually knows how to restructure this defense. Get him a quarterback in this year's draft although there's going to be a lot of big names, don't know exactly who's going to be that guy to step out into the forefront, because there are a handful of them where I'm just like, I don't know if like Nussmeier, love you in LSU, but not sure if you're going to be that great in the pros.
And by the time
Oregon's quarterback, I'm still out.
And by the time the draft comes around, we could have been a top 5 pick.
Exactly. So I think at this point, much like we were talking about with Callahan and the Titans, and what you need to do if you're a top or team in these drafts, you need to blow it up and fire the head coach and find somebody that'll pair well with the next quarterback. I think Miami is on the perfect doorfront right now, or I'm sorry, doorway, to just bust it down and say, all right, sorry, McDaniel, but this is our guy, and we're going to go find a new quarterback too. So Tua, you're going to have to find a new job, and we're going to move on as an organization.
And hopefully this round they can get an offensive coordinator that can pair up with Flores and take Flores's.
Absolutely, because that is another thing that you need in the NFL is you need 2 coaches that could be head coach caliber coaches, and you will be successful. The only thing that I want to hint at real quick before we go to break, do you think that Crowder's right, though, and that somebody in that locker room is dogging him today?
Oh, yeah.
And just looking at him and say, oh, you got those things to say about us?
And I think the players know who he's talking about.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you have any idea who that could potentially be?
I know one of them was Waller.
Yeah, but again, Waller's one of the issues, though, from what I understand.
That's what I'm seeing, but I don't know.
Which
it goes
is
deeper
to say, since he's literally, well, I shouldn't say literally, he is arguably one of 2 people on that offense that have looked great in the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Him and A-Chain and
so
Waddle.
maybe he doesn't need to go to the meetings.
And I could see it why the coach didn't play him in the second half until the final drive.
Mm-hmm.
But A-Chain also talked about it, and he said, dude, it doesn't matter what Tua says. It matters on you get paid to play. You signed a contract. You do your job.
Show up.
And that's the only thing I could take out of A-Chain is he spit the truth.
Yeah.
You're on a contract. You go out and play for your team and you make your money. Go home, practice, go to the meetings. And that's all you got to do. But we'll take a break as we're talking coaching. Bill Belichick came out yesterday. Plus, Penn State might have their next coach. We'll talk about that and much more right here on the Early Bird Special.
Welcome back. Sorry, I can't stomp on Chester. This is the early bird special right here on 101.1 FM, 1230 AM, ESPN Bakersfield. Streaming video every single day while the show is going from 7 to 9 in the morning on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. You can also go to our YouTube channel and check out old episodes. They will all be right there for you.
People do not know how to drive in this town.
No, they do not. And again, public service announcement for those of you who are just waking up. Maybe you haven't hit the road yet. It is pouring rain here in Bakersfield. And because of that, everybody forgets how to drive properly. So please drive with care and know that you are most likely going to have a headache of a time driving today because everybody else can't figure their stuff out.
Yeah, there's like a bunch of spin outs on the traffic page.
It's the
and
worst. It's the worst. But again, this is just what happens when we live in a city of people who don't want to go get their tires checked when they should. So hopefully, if you are listening to our voice right now, you're not dealing with some sort of accident or in your area or, God forbid, you being in that accident. Let's drive carefully. It is raining. And also remember, stay away from California Avenue. It is still being worked on.
It's worse.
Yeah, it's getting worse. I can't explain how dumb these people at insert construction name here. God, I want to say their name so bad. It starts with a G. Let's just start with that. It's a G and company. That's where I'm going to leave it. But these guys are awful. I mean, not even just the worker. I mean, I'm just saying it because they've gotten into altercations with people. We're talking about literally getting into fights with people just trying to go about their day. And you guys are you have to realize that you're the thing that's really causing them the issue. But again, it is what it is. Construction is necessary, so we should all just be happy. And just whenever this gets done, we'll all go back to some sense of normalcy. Let's talk about some teams that don't have that sense of normalcy right now. And that's the UNC Tar Heels, who have been god-awful under Bill Belichick, and the Penn State Nittany Lions, who are in absolute disarray right now after firing Coach Franklin. Let's start with Coach Bill, because for the last couple of weeks, and we mentioned this last week as well, people have just been running with this story that UNC and Bill Belichick will be done here in the near future. He does not want to be there, quote unquote. Again, I think it's all hogwash. He's come out and said it's hogwash as well. Let's hear from Bill Belichick and his thoughts on all of this idea of potential buyout with the Tar Heels. I'm telling you right now, I think that he's telling the truth, and for this simple reason. I don't think there's another college in the country that would give him the deal that UNC gave him, at least in terms of the control of the team, who he gets to bring in. He got to bring in his own general manager in Longbow. Mike Lombardi came with him. I don't think any other college in the country is going to give him the same kind of leeway that Chapel Hill gives him. So I highly doubt Bill goes anywhere, at least after this year. If this continues and they're awful for 2 to 3 years, sure, I'm sure the college will probably move on and there'll be some sort of buyout and we'll figure out where Bill goes next, if he goes anywhere at all.
I don't think it would be college. I think if an NFL team offers him, he'd be out as quick as he could. But I don't see that happening either. And I sure the hell don't think they're going to give him the red carpet, here,
treatment,
hire whatever you want.
And that's the thing. I think everybody forgets about what he was asking for during this coaching search, or at least this team search that he was on, which is essentially full control. He wants full control of the team. And there's not a single team I know of, especially at the pro level, that's going to give him that. It's just not going to happen. I don't know if we have enough time to get to the Matt Rule stuff here with Penn State, but just to tee it up for you guys before we get to our guy KG on the other side, talk all things wrestling. Matt Rule has become the front runner for this job in Penn State as well. And I think there's a lot of validity to this. We'll get into more details after our talks with KG. But Matt Rule, former professional coach, now coach at Nebraska. Wouldn't be surprised if he makes a move over to his alma mater where he met his wife. And Penn State, as I said yesterday, is looking for a coach that can win the big games, can really make an impact against these top 25 teams where James Franklin was awful. And Matt Rule might be that guy. There's another coach out there too, Mr. Signetti, who they're hoping. I know a lot of Nittany Lions fans are hoping that's the guy for them. But we'll get to all of that and all of the info that we have on this on the other side of our discussion with 24KG. We got to take a break real quick. You're listening to the Early Bird Special right here on ESPN Bakersfield. Welcome back. This is the Early Bird Special right here on ESPN Bakersfield, 101.1 FM, 1230 AM. We're working on getting our guy KG in here. He's dealing with a little bit of a video issue, but he should be joining us very shortly to talk all things wrestling because we got to talk about this coup of the century yesterday that was ruined for us, technically. Thanks, Austin. I swear to God. I still had to watch it, though. I mean, you have to see these things happen for yourself. And I'm not gonna lie to you, while watching the promo in the very beginning of the show, and Seth pretty much giving himself all the credit in the world for everything going on.
Well, when he was doing, I love you.
Yeah, I love
I
you,
love
but
you
I don't
guys,
need any of you.
but
I
I
don't
did
need
this all
anybody here.
without
I'm like,
you.
good God,
I'm
Seth.
setting it up.
Wow. Why should, but my guy does not deserve this kind of treatment. The dog is here. What are you doing? And honestly, the minute I saw that change of like facial, just Braun just kind of coming to terms with all of it, I knew from that moment, I was like, okay, that's what's going to happen. They're going to make a decision for themselves. And just like we saw a couple weeks ago, he's going to call the play. And it's really up to Bronson if he's going to join him. And that's
Same with
exactly what
Paul. He
happened.
was like, "You're either with me or you're
Or
not.
you're not. And find out which side you're on now. Because if you don't, we're going to
You
find
might
out
get
for you.
speared real quick."
I'm just saying. And that was arguably one of the best ways they could have done it. Because again, I think a listener texted in yesterday and had a very good point. This is just further example that we don't necessarily need every storyline in wrestling to go 2-3 years and push. You know what I mean? We are okay with wrestling just being, well, wrestling. And sometimes it's okay to blow up a faction early because let's see what comes out of this. I mean, I think a lot of people are expecting, obviously, we're going to see Braun probably be the new leader of this, and Bronson's going to continue to thrive just like he has been. But I was thinking about this last night, Spark, and I'm kind of curious what you think about this. And once KG gets in here, I'd love to have his thoughts as well. We could potentially be seeing the start of a faction we've never seen before in terms of both major championships could be around these guys' waists at the same time. I don't think a lot of people ever really consider that because I don't think we've ever had a moment where a faction held both main championships. But we could see Braun Breaker with the World Heavyweight Championship and Bronson Reed going to SmackDown for a brief moment and winning the WWE Championship at the same time. And I mean, I know Triple H loves to drip these factions in gold, especially the ones that he favors. We've seen it with the Judgment Day a million times. But at this point right now, this could be a very, very interesting move forward for the company because at least to my knowledge, please text in and let me know if I'm being dumb here, or if I'm just forgetting, but I don't think we've ever had a wrestling faction own both major men's championships at the same time. And we could potentially see that for the first time ever with this group because that's how serious they are. That's how big they are. And they've been building Bronson Reed to be that guy for the last couple months. Braun Breaker was already kind of on the way there just for being a Steiner in general. So, I mean, the thought of them coming in and just running roughshod through all of this is incredible. And I would not be surprised if that is what ends up happening here in the storyline for Triple H. What were your thoughts on everything?
I know we got a text asking the same question, but it was more, where does Brock fit?
I think Brock could potentially be that guy that if they need a third one, especially for war games. But I don't see Brock joining a faction.
No, and I don't see how him and
Breaker
Breaker
mix.
fit together.
Because I mean, the minute you bring Brock in, he's now the alpha, which means Braun goes right back to being the side guy.
Me personally, I think the way they're portraying Braun, that he could very well just chase Heyman out, and Heyman just goes back to Brock, and they
Right.
just kind of do their own thing. But
I think Brock, that's a beautiful point. I think Brock could be Heyman's way out.
Yeah.
If he wants a way out. But at the end of the day, I don't think he joins the faction. I
No.
just don't see that being the case for Braun or for Brock Lesnar. But there are now rumors that we could potentially see a reuniting of the Shield with Seth and Roman, just in case, they need to help each other out with all of this. And now there's a possibility of Seth being the fifth guy on the opposite side of this War Games match that we think was building underneath all of it. We'll see what happens. I'm very curious But I mean, they're calling this the coup of the century in WWE as they normally do, just to pump it up.
I
But
I went home and I was watching my Mariners,
mhm,
and I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna have to make some time."
mhm.
And I didn't get home till about 6:30, and I turned it on immediately and had the Dodger game on the side. But even when it was the credits were coming up, I'm like, "Where's it at? Where's it at? Where's it gonna happen?" And then sure enough, Braun turns around and spears him.
Mhm.
I personally, I know what I've read saying that it was supposed to happen next year, but the injury to Seth was serious, that he was going to have to take some time, and then they just kind of, and it's the same thing we brought up yesterday when a listener had said, this had happened. I think, just like we've said, writers have the ability to change up as quick as they need to.
Absolutely.
And I think it was perfect because a lot of us old school wrestling fans were getting dull of
Yeah.
the story writing. And I think not only was SmackDown what we saw with the girls, and
The
with
MFTs and all
if
that.
MFT coming out, and finally we see a good Wyatt Six story,
Yep.
and then going back into Raw, now we can, it's kind of up in the air. And what I liked about it was we've been waiting because we knew Braun was going to change sooner or later,
Mhm.
and you could read it all over his face. Like
Now,
as soon as Seth kept talking and talking, you could see he was about to snap in the beginning.
oh, 100%. And it was interesting to me because that is the little things in wrestling that I feel like we all have to pay attention to a little bit is how well these guys' facial expressions really play into what's happening next. Not a lot of people really take that into account, but it really is a defining factor on how these matches go and how these storylines progress. The other thing that I was thinking last night as well after the spear, what if we're seeing another run of Seth playing us? Let's not forget, not too long ago, Seth faked an injury in order to continue a storyline that no one really thought was going. Who's to say that Seth didn't plan this as well to get people, thinking maybe he's not the leader anymore? And then de facto, here comes War Games, and he ends up sabotaging the other team
CM Punk.
for his other group. Exactly. If he has to work with Punk and Roman, he sabotages their chances of winning, thus allowing his vision to continue and thriving. There's always these possibilities. Our guy KG has joined us. Sir, how are you? First and foremost,
Congratulations.
congratulations
Hey,
on your
thank you
on your big
guys.
award win. I cannot express how much we both enjoy hearing about that, and obviously another well-deserved win for you in the DJ category, my friend.
Thank you very much, guys.
Uh-oh.
Uh,
We
we
got
got
no
we,
audio, my guy.
we
We
got
got
no
no.
audio. We got no
Oh, now we got.
audio.
Oh no, that's not you. That was Dawson in the back.
All
That was
right.
Dawson in the back. Look,
All
look at your
right.
settings, my guy. I'm not sure if your audio is coming through or not. If not, we'll figure this out
But the
right
other
now.
question I had, just bouncing off Raw while KG works out his stuff, the
Well,
Usos.
Yeah, there
Oh,
he
there he
is.
is.
Now we're live. All right. Absolutely. And also, for those of you who didn't see on our social media, it was KG's birthday over the weekend. So, mhm. Absolutely. That's what I keep saying, dude. We got another lottery winner here in Bakersfield. I was like, are you kidding me? And I'm not playing the lottery. It really is. Absolutely. Fantastic. Flashy a little bit. Flashy, flashy. Real quick, since you weren't with us in the beginning, we got started with this whole coup of the century thing. Thoughts on that real quick? That's what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. 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 Mm-hmm.
You know what? I'm not going to be just in a group with Seth Rollins. Usually I advise a group for Seth Rollins. And that's where the dynamic changes. That's where Braun, as you see in the beginning of Raw, when he made those statements, was kind of taken back. Like, really, you don't need us. Okay. Then by the end, it was, well, it's really, we didn't choose you. We're looking for the opportunity. The
Right.
opportunity of being the greatest opportunist in this. And quite possibly, yes. I like the theory of maybe they just take in all the titles.
That's the only thing I could think of is the plan. Is that
At-
you've been building both of these guys for so long that at this point you might as well just have both of them go after the main titles and see if you could have. Because again, am I wrong? Would this be the
no,
first ever WWE faction that has both of them at the same time?
I honestly, if you think about the two-man power trip, it wasn't those world titles, but it was an IC and a world title and tag titles that they had with Stone Cold and Triple H, quite possibly. But nonetheless, I didn't see this coming. So my thought was maybe they go after the tag title since they've been sitting just collecting dust with the Judgment Day on Raw. And we really fold in the whole faction of gold that they have with
Mhm.
the Vision. Apparently, those shakeups that we heard about reported for WWE a few weeks ago are happening. So as we're seeing this in storylines, and note that the staff that works with Road Dogg, Jesse James,
Mhm.
almost everyone has been let go except him. So as they're bringing in a new staff or moving people around, giving them the good old SmackDown shuffle in the writers' room, we'll see what's going to happen on the blue brand because right now the red brand is kind of cooking. It's cooking up into the fall season, and we're seeing it this winter. So
So speaking of the red brand, and I don't believe this is real, but I did see a rumor that I had to ask if you knew anything about. But is there any validity to this whole Raw 2-day spectacular thing going forward? Because from
well,
what I hear is that they want, or well, the rumor is that WWE wants to extend it to a Monday and Tuesday night thing. I
this
don't
is
see that happening
where
just because of NXT being on Tuesdays.
yeah, the thing is with that, if it's a certain type of special, maybe
Mhm.
a Christmas Eve special, something like that. Because usually they can do the year's best. Maybe on New Year's, sometimes they do that where
Right.
they run down the best matches of the year. They'll have a commentary team, either live or pre-recorded. You know, some matches from main event that they have chopped up in there and whatnot. But I can't see them extending that because of the stretch that it puts on the major PLEs. You're almost devaluing a 2-night PLE by having a 2-night Monday Night Raw, and then it's not even Monday anymore.
Mhm.
But it could work for a holiday special if they're reviewing Raw a day that is not on Monday.
Just
So,
like they would do with like the Saturday night main
Main
event.
events.
Maybe they'd bring back
yeah,
a random Sunday night heat
Well,
type
because
thing.
yeah,
they do Raw Day 1 every couple years, which is essentially them saying, "Hey, this is the start of the new season. Like this is
yeah.
day 1 of the season for you." So maybe that's it. I don't know. I just saw a rumor of it, and I couldn't get my head around them actually making Raw a 2-day event.
Well, like I was saying
Yeah, it's a little
before, I mean,
strange.
I'm happy with what I saw at SmackDown this last week. It was the first time I've seen an entertaining SmackDown, and as a Wyatt Six fan, I was like,
I
finally,
agree.
they put a story together for the Wyatt Six
I agree.
that wasn't with every tag team in the team.
In the division, yeah.
So I was like, cool, let's see what. Plus with MFT coming out with the head shrinker paint, and I was like, hell yeah.
Oh yeah,
I dig that.
I think what really sparked people's reaction was seeing the return of Tama Tonga, Tongaloa all together. I mean, all three of those guys haven't been together since New Japan on film. Now, for them to be included in this Bloodline storyline and don the Gorillas of Destiny, if you guys are real fans of the international wrestling scene, you'll understand what I'm talking about there, especially with the Tongan and Samoan heritage of the Gorilla of Destiny war paint was a very intimidating faction that they had post Bullet Club in that era.
Well, Tama was using the face paint during his time with the Bullet Club.
Yes.
But he was the only one that was doing that.
Yes, and it became a real staple in their whole presence of intensity. I mean, really, it was a great transitional storyline, like just moving kind of issue with these guys are turning up right now. These guys, they're not being nice. They're not tweeners. They're being straight heels. They're devastating every locker room that they're in. Kind of that Legion of Doom energy that was brought in the 80s. Some guys still carry it over with the intensity factor that we're seeing now. Now to put them right across the ring from the Wyatts, chef's kiss right there in the story room. I mean, great TV right there. They didn't even have to interact. They just had to stand there, and that's what draws interest. And SmackDown needs a little bit more of that because lately they've been floundering with certain matches. And not to say everything needs a storyline, as we've said earlier today. But sometimes, and I know people are harsher on one brand than the other. Hey, when AEW does it and just throws it together, we criticize the hell out of it. But for a reason. There's always a reason. It's not just because we're just WWE loyalists. No. This is the entirety of wrestling. Sometimes you can just throw some things together that make a little bit of sense for them to make more down the road naturally. And it just plays out good on TV.
Well, going back to criticism, I mean, we didn't get to talk to you since Crown Jewel, and we were all kind of poo-pooing, okay, this kind of be a sleepover type event. Plus it started at 5 a.m. and we had a full day of crap to go on. But what was your overall thoughts of Crown Jewels?
I think, honestly, I would give it a 7.7 out of 10.
That's a fair number.
It wasn't bad. It was definitely, it was definitely way better than the first ESPN PLE. I will hands down say that. Thank you, guys, for listening out there in the interwebs, in the ESPN world. And honestly, you can't really knock how important the match between Cena and Styles was with the homage of their own finish. Well, everybody else's finishers that they have fought along their career. The exciting part about it was seeing these moves pulled off by these guys. It was almost like, as the commentary team said, video game spam.
Yeah,
it was hilarious. But it
not
was
to cut you off real
very
quick,
decent.
Do you think that this is just a little sidebar as well of John kind of taking a shot at his critics, saying that he can't wrestle, doing everybody else's moves? Because I kind of caught that a little bit too. It's like, John, for the better part of his career, was getting a lot of grief for only having 5 moves, and now he's doing everybody else's stuff. Like, I feel like this is a little stab at the comment or the critics that are saying, he wasn't a very good wrestler. It's like, he was still the best at what he did.
2 things I want to add to that. You're right as far as the criticism that John Cena received. And my take on it was, we know in his earlier days, he tried a lot of different stuff that he can wrestle. We just didn't see it because he got paid the big bucks to keep it 5 moves of doom, baby. I don't have to go outside of this because
that's what Vince McMahon was paying him to do.
Exactly. So now that he can kind of open up his repertoire, his bag of tricks, and display a little more athleticism that he still has in the tank that he didn't get to show off in his younger days, I think it's a great look. It takes a smack at the critics. And the other thing is just how fun is it to see the crowd's reaction to John Cena doing a Undertaker tombstone, you know, an RKO. And
It was a weak
I will,
RKO, but
Yeah, that was
still
a
an
weak-
RKO.
Hey,
That was
look,
the
look,
weakest
look.
That was more of a
Look,
diamond cutter
hey,
than an
hey,
RKO.
It's still,
Yes, it
still,
was.
to this day, it is still better than that trash
But see, that
sharpshooter
bugs me.
that The Rock puts on people.
True.
And tries to, like, come on. I know
I
us
like
wrestling
AJ's
folks-
Sweet Chin music.
That was
Oh,
sweet.
that was
That
beautiful.
wasn't.
That was beautiful.
My
But
issue,
yeah.
though, as well, is that we're seeing all of these, and these are supposed to be an homage to him, to all of his rivals that he's not going to be able to wrestle, which means we're not going to get John Cena and Randy. We're most likely not going to get John Cena and Rusev because we saw the camel clutch as well. But you realize the ones that he's leaving off. We didn't see a rock bottom. We
Yeah.
haven't seen an F5.
Yeah.
All of these guys are still on the table. And actually, real quick,
I don't
before
think we
move
haven't seen
on-
a spear.
No, we have not seen a spear. And that was going to be my last topic for you, but because we're running out of time, I got to play some audio for you real quick, though. Hopefully you can hear it. And if our streaming audience can't hear this as well, it'll be up on the website on YouTube here very soon, I promise. But The Rock went on the Kelsey's podcast the other day and had his comments of who he believes he should be John's last match. Let's play this real quick.
Who should his final match be against?
Ooh, that's a good one. Just saying.
That says it
Just
all. That
saying.
says it all.
Two of my favorites,
Oh
man.
man, that's I have a tiny bit of influence in the booking of it, but it really is just it's whoever John wants. Really, that's what
Yeah.
it comes down to. Whoever he
That makes
wants,
sense.
that should
Yep.
he. Right? It's not me or Nick Carr, Triple H. It's just it's whoever John wants.
So obviously he wants it to be himself.
Dang.
I think a lot of people want it to be him. Here's my thing, though.
Could you hear that first of all?
Yeah,
Yes. It was
I'm
great.
looking
Great
forward to my
job.
money while I show
I
later.
know.
So-
Really, it's like yes, it works.
Yes, it works.
Sorry, go back to what we're talking about here.
Sorry,
just
guys, we had a
referenced it
geek
earlier.
moment right now.
No F5s, no rock bottoms, no spears, which means three of his top rivals are still on the table: The Rock,
Yeah.
Brock, and Edge. Now, right now, a lot of people know Edge or Adam Copeland is part of AEW, but what people don't know is that there is an opportunity here that's very unique that could potentially see see Edge and John Cena one last time, and that would be a trade in contracts between WWE and AEW, which has happened in the past, not between those two companies specifically, but if you remember, old school wrestling fans, Ric Flair. That's kind of how he ended up on the WWE, was an automatic
Bang.
trade. Do you think there is some validity to the potential of Tony Khan sending Adam Copeland over? And if so, who do you think the WWE is going to have to give up? Personally, I think it's going to have to be AJ Styles.
Okay.
I think
I-
AJ Styles would be
Trade-
AEW for his last year.
Trade wise, yes, on a short term agreement basis with AJ Styles. Validity to the rumor, not a high percentage, but possibly because he is filming. He's actually filming Percy Jackson, one of the last installments of that franchise right now.
He plays
So-
Ares, doesn't he?
I believe so. He does have some time off. Now, whether that is, due to, okay, I only went this far with my contract and I re-signed after the movie, or if they're just giving me a break. And Tony Khan, Triple H, and Nick Khan would have to sit down with this. That's volatile, egos, energy. Everybody wants the pie. Nobody wants to share. Like I say, slim percentage, inkling of a possibility. I would love to see it happen. But if it's not going to be Edge, I could see it being The Rock. And
As
hey,
much as I wouldn't want to see that, there are only 4 matches.
Yeah.
I think one of them has to be Dom for that IC title.
definitely. And I could see them
Like-
paying off the whole final boss, John selling his
Right.
soul thing, and then they making that final.
And that's if they don't
that-
get him to stretch it to WrestleMania. However,
Yeah.
with this coup that just happened yesterday, I think one name that needs to come back to the board is Braun Breaker. Because
Definitely.
if we now have Braun Breaker as the leader of this vision, it would only make sense that the future of the company would want to silence the past of it. So I think
Definitely.
now the potential of it being Braun Breaker as his last match at Saturday night's main event, I think just quadrupled. in
So what
my
do they
opinion.
do with Seth's title while he's out?
I would believe that
gotta
if
put
he's
it up.
really injured,
You gotta
or
put it
or if it's like a quick rehab, he was able to take a spear, he was able to take a tsunami. So how about they just have him run
On
back
top
out
of the
there?
belt too. Did you guys notice
Yeah.
that?
Yes,
They dragged
yes,
him with the belt underneath. That had me
yes,
hurt.
yes. So next week, if we've seen this before, when somebody's injured, they book a safe match. They build this thing up, and it's boom, a blow off real quick. Braun Breaker destroys Seth Rollins 1, 2, 3. We get that. Now the chase is in pursuit of Braun, the vision, and how he wants to run things. And we kind of just slide Seth over until he heals. They say it's an elbow injury. If it's a minor break, he'll be back by December. If it's a shoulder injury, he'll be out maybe up until WrestleMania. So we'll
Here's the
see.
thing, though, because depending on how serious the injury is, do you think they just slide the belt over to Braun? Because there is a possibility of that. You can change hands of a belt within your own faction.
So what
That is
happens
true.
with CM Punk?
Then that's the other thing too. Punk
You
just
run it
won
back.
his first night or his
His number one contender match.
contendership yesterday.
And
So
I
one
think-
of these guys have to go up against Punk.
And I think this is also a bigger setup to War Games that's coming up, because you're officially seeing now that Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins have been done wrong by Paul Heyman, Braun Breaker, and Bronson Reed. This could also lead to, and let's remember that his problem, Roman Reigns, his problem is with CM Punk, not necessarily Seth Rollins, who it's always kind of revolved around. They have come together at certain points to work situations out. Could we possibly see it? I don't think this means Seth Rollins is turning face or tweener. He's just going to be a likable heel that does crap stuff to people and is a POS. So, and it fits his character.
I'd love that.
I just realized something.
Yeah.
The Jey Uso LA Knight beef is just CM Punk and Roman light.
Yep.
I just realized
And now we're getting the Uso against
Oh,
Uso.
God.
Like
That's
we've
so
been talking
that's
about.
so disrespectful. That's so
It is, that's what it is.
It's so disrespectful.
It is though,
man.
but that's what it is. Like, come on, even LA Knight and CM Punk yesterday in Raw going face to face. It's like, man, it's essentially the same guy.
I'm not
Fantastic
arguing with you
on
on
the
that one.
microphone.
I'm not
It's just-
arguing with you.
This is, oh my god, it's so bad. But you know what? We have run out
Hey,
of time, my friend.
This ain't the childhood WWE anymore. This is
No.
TKO branded WWE.
We just have to take what we
folks.
can get and hope and pray it's going to be as good as the stuff we used to watch when we were children.
Yes,
Sir,
indeed.
Thank you so much for your time as always. Once again, congratulations, best DJ in Bakersfield, hands down, and that is
Thank
no
you.
competition. And
Thank
we
you.
will talk to you next week, my friend.
All right, guys. Hey, make sure you guys like, subscribe, and stay notified. Early bird special coming at you.
Absolutely. We got to take a break real quick, pay some bills right here on ESPN Bakersfield, 101.1 FM, 1230 AM. This is the type of music you can listen to when it's raining outside. Not necessarily moody, but just mellow, especially if you're stuck. Apologies out there if you guys are stuck in traffic due to some accidents. It is Bakersfield, and we can't drive in the rain. Sorry about that. But this is the early bird special. You can listen to us while you wait to get to work every single day from 7 to 9 on 101.1 FM, 12:30 AM, or online on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch every single day, 7 to 9 in the morning. I know we said we were going to get to this whole Matt Rule to Penn State thing. I swear we're going to get to that at some point. Plus, I need to hear what Sparky thought about Tron. We didn't get to that yesterday, so hopefully we'll get to that before the end of the show. But there is a massive, massive development in the NBA we have to get to. For those of you who've been listening to the show or you're just an NBA fan, you've been following this story, the Clippers with this whole tree trimming service to circumvent paying a certain amount of money in the salary cap for Kawhi Leonard. It's taken a weird turn. So from what we understand from ESPN and sources, they're saying that the NBA actually okayed this. Now, from what I understand and what I've read from this story, the Clippers had applied to create or to have Aspiration, the tree trimming or tree removal service, as their new patch sponsor. So if you've been watching the NBA the last couple of years, you've noticed they've started to put patches of companies on the collars of their jerseys. And Aspiration was supposed to be the one for the Clippers starting in 2023. Before the company went down in this entire scandal situation where the owner was found guilty for wire fraud and a whole bunch of other stuff. And that is a key factor here going into this.
For 23 years.
23 years. Again, yeah, that's neither here nor there. We'll get to that in a second. I'm sorry. I'm sidetracking myself. Now, when all of this happened, the Clippers and Aspiration back in, I think it was 2021, 2022, had gone through the process of sending into the NBA. They wanted them to be their patch sponsor. And the NBA, this is the only kind of sponsorship the NBA really has to take credit of, or at least look over and vet themselves, because they don't want sponsorships for companies that could be problematic. Obviously, this could also extend to like cannabis companies, beer companies, et cetera, et cetera. But when it comes to a patch sponsor, it has to be sent into the NBA, which is where now they're saying the NBA greenlit this, because starting in 2022, 2023, the patch sponsor was supposed to switch from, I believe at the time, I'm sorry, I'm trying to read here and figure it out. It doesn't really matter. Their patch sponsor was ending in 2022. Aspiration was going to come on in 2023. That is when all of the stuff with Aspiration went down. Found out the owner went through wire fraud, all that type of stuff. And there is a clause within the NBA that if your company has been seen as negative or has some sort of scrutiny or scandal, they can immediately pull the company from all rights and sponsorships. This was even going to be coming with signage on the new the new stadium, amongst other things, and all of that got blown up. Now, mind you, the NBA did not, however, greenlight the sponsorship between Kawhi Leonard and the company itself. They don't do that. In fact, they go out of their way to not be a part of those conversations. And they tell teams that they're not supposed to be part of those conversations either, although they do allow the teams and the companies to essentially, create the meeting. So what happened here was, in the short, couple months it took them to sign Kawhi Leonard and sign this deal back in 2021. The deal, okay, I found it right here. The deal was created in September of 2021 with Aspiration. April of 2022 is when they signed Kawhi Leonard, and they introduced Kawhi to Aspiration for their potential deal, which was the deal everybody now is looking at, the $28 million that was given from Aspiration to Kawhi Leonard to circumvent the NBA. I'm sorry, the NBA salary cap, rather. So you're asking, why are you telling us this? What's the big deal? At this point right now, the investigation is still ongoing, but now that the NBA has come out and said that, well, we kind of greenlit this. At first, Adam Silver said, I have no idea who that is. And then a couple months later, backtracked and said, yeah, I knew about the company. I know about the brand. And same with Steve Ballmer, who has now come out and said, they played me. This company played me like a fiddle. That's not a good excuse, Ballmer. It's not. I'm sorry. And this investigation apparently can go as long as the end of the 2026 playoff run. But at the end of that, Adam Silver can decide if there is enough evidence to really take this to another level of arbitration. And we could be seeing a fine that we have never, the size we've never seen in pro sports, period. If not the expulsion of yet another Clippers owner in Steve Ballmer for this. This entire story continues to get weirder and weirder the more you hear about it. I guess there at least started with some sort of validity, though. They started wanting them as a patch sponsor, ends up blowing up. But again, the other thing you have to take into account is Steve Ballmer, if I'm remembering correctly, if I read correctly, has a stake in this company. This is a company that he not owns, but at least knows of and put a couple bills towards. So at what point did you know that they were, conning you? That's why I said it's not a good excuse, because you've been working with this company for years. There's no way that you didn't know about it. There's no way you didn't know about the owner getting busted for wire fraud. That's where my entire thing with all of this just really gets confused and gets jumbled up, in my opinion. But at the end of the 2026 season, we could potentially be seeing the Clippers dealing with yet another ownership move if this really comes out to be even more damning than we already know. Spark, you got any thoughts?
I mean, I know billionaires, put their toes into a lot of different little little businesses and this and that. And I could see where the NBA can see where Ballmer was probably trying to mix businesses with this big, NBA team.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it saved his job once the NBA approved what they were doing with the sponsorship, and obviously trying to once again mix money into salary caps and try to save some money on this end and try to throw it in where the sponsorship is. I think it'll end with the team and Ballmer probably maybe losing a couple draft picks and getting some major fines up to $200-300 million fines. I don't think it'll cost him his job, but it definitely will make him look like a bad business guy.
I just feel like with the NBA and the way they're structuring themselves, especially if you're not allowing companies to be sponsors because of scandal, I don't know if they're going to let Ballmer stay.
I think it saved his job by at least introducing it and getting it signed off.
Right.
I think that's when
Going
it kind
about
of
it in
makes
the right
Silver look like, okay, I shouldn't have spoke before I did some homework.
But also let's take into account as well that I'm sorry, what's the word I'm looking for? The application that Aspiration put in to be the sponsor happened in September of 2021.
Before all this.
A year before, or a couple months at least before they signed Kawhi and even got the deal done. So the vetting process could have been done well before they even signed Kawhi Leonard. And I agree that you should have vetted the signing regardless, especially with the sponsorship afterwards. And now, I mean, there are people coming out saying, of course, it was to circumvent the NBA salary cap. But again, those people
it was the Clippers.
Yeah, these people worked for Aspiration. They didn't work for the Clippers. So this could all be hearsay. But at the end of it all, dude, if this is as damning as it looks, the Clippers could have to sell again. And to be honest with you, it may be necessary, because how can you trust an owner to not do this again? How can you trust him to be able to be on the up and up? And again, I call shenanigans right now that you were, you had the wool over your eyes.
Yeah, like
you were played by this company that you have a stake in. You own to a point. Like, there's no way. So that's why I'm thinking, like,
and I could also see the NBA being a much stricter moving forward with their sponsorships, especially with how the NBA is growing.
As you should be, because like you just said, they're growing, and you need positive reinforcement for that. And anytime something like this happens, there's just a slew of haters of the NBA that continue to say, see, these guys are still this, that, and the other thing. Like, they're still criminals playing basketball. And that's not a good look for the league, especially when you're trying to grow viewership and compete with a god of a sports organization like the NFL. Because again, NBA is right around the corner, folks. Regular season's here. And nobody knows it because football season's starting. That's not good for the NBA. And scrutiny and scandals like this with the Clippers don't exactly help that at all. You need to be able to put up some viewership numbers and pull some of those viewers away from sports organizations like the NBA and really at this point, the MLB. Because I do believe that the NBA's, at least viewership on television, is dwindling fast. Fast. And if you don't do something to turn that around to make it exciting again and be back on the up and up, there could be a lot of other jobs that could be let go as well, not just the owner of the Clippers. Because if you think Adam Silver is safe, no. You're a commissioner. And if you're a commissioner of a failing sports league, your job is just as much up as everybody else's. Let's take a break real quick, pay some bills. I want to hear Sparky's thoughts on Tron on the other side. Plus, we'll get into some of this news about Penn State's coaching vacancy. Will Matt Rule be taking it? Will it be Coach Signetti of the Indiana Hoosiers? We'll let you know our thoughts on the other side of the break. This is the Early Bird Special right here on ESPN Bakersfield.
Welcome back. This is the Early Bird Special right here on ESPN Bakersfield, 101.1 FM, 12:30 a.m. Final segment of the day. Thank you for joining us. Join us back here tomorrow, 7 to 9, as always.
We did get a text saying, "Are the Steelers actually back?"
No. Although we'll be getting ready for the Unk Bowl on Thursday as the Steelers and the Cincinnati Bengals going up against each other. Joe Flacco and Aaron Rodgers.
And mentioning that, I saw Tomlin doing an interview yesterday saying the
Didn't
Flacco
make
trade
sense.
didn't make any sense.
Yep.
It was awkward, and I don't understand why anyone would trade a quarterback inside the division.
What did I say? Clearly, Mike Tomlin listens to the show because I've said the exact words a million times. Trade didn't make sense, didn't help you in any way, shape, or form, and you never trade with interdivisional opponents, even if it's a quarterback or not. Doesn't make sense.
You try to make sense of the Cleveland Browns, you're
And-
going to have a
yeah, this
long
is true,
day.
too. And I was thinking about this the other day too, but Joe Flacco has to be so fed up with playing the AFC North. He has to be so fed up with having to deal with the Steelers 2 times a year, the Browns 2 times a year, the Ravens, his former team, 2 times a year. He's got to be so fed up with it. Either that or he is the AFC North just expert
Yeah.
at this point, and nobody will play them like Joe Flacco.
And for
does.
Steeler fans, you have to be happy.
Yeah,
that
with the way you
everyone-
guys started,
And
absolutely.
this division is just falling apart for you.
All the way back, though, let's not get crazy. I think that you guys have a good chance to wrap up this entire division and walk into the playoffs, and especially now that the Ravens are completely out of it. I think they're done. I think this entire thing is just going to end up being a wash, and we move on to next year. But are you fully back as if you're going to make it all the way there? Let's not get too crazy. Let's not get that crazy. I think you guys will put up a fight, though. That is about as much as I can give you.
You could be happy.
Let's talk about another team in Pennsylvania, though. Penn State, the Nittany
Penn
Lions.
State.
Still trying to figure out their coaching vacancy now that James Franklin is gone, rightfully so. The 2 biggest names on the list right now, as I mentioned earlier, Matt Rule, head coach of the Nebraska Cornhuskers, former walk-on for Penn State at linebacker and good friend of athletic director Kraft. So the likelihood of that being a match made in heaven, pretty high up there, to be completely honest with you. And I think he would fit really, really well at Penn State. The other one that I keep hearing as well, and this is the one that I just more hear Nittany Lions fans wanting, and that's Coach Cignetti from the Indiana Hoosiers. A fantastic coach. Reminds me a lot of Bill Belichick. No nonsense. Really doesn't want to talk to the media, but he'll do it anyway. And he's very sarcastic. And just, I think he could whip that team back into shape and keep the key pieces that you need to keep from this team, because that's going to be a huge, huge move forward for this squad, regardless of whoever you choose as head coach. You're going to have to pick somebody that's going to be able to keep a lot of these top tier players there. Other 3 guys that have been on the list, at least for ESPN's eyes, will be Iowa State coach Matt Campbell, Duke coach Manny Diaz, and UNLV coach Dan Mullen, all 3 of which likelihoods, 6-7. I'm not sure. I really couldn't help you on that one, because to me, the only 2 people that Penn State should be talking to are Coach Cignetti and Coach Matt Rule. Both of these guys have proven they can win big games. And as I told you guys yesterday, and now we have a promo running, if you cannot win a big game at these big colleges, Ohio State, Alabama, USC, Penn State, you're not going to be there very long. You really aren't. And when you're 4-21 just at Penn State alone, I'm surprised it wasn't sooner, if I'm being completely honest. With the last couple minutes of the show, though, we didn't get to this yesterday.
How
and I'm
about the
very
Mariners?
curious. Yes. Let's talk about your Mariners real quick.
2-0, baby.
10-3, baby.
Let's go.
I mean, at this point, and you took the 2 games you needed to, too.
Exactly.
Toronto at home. I mean, do you think that maybe Toronto just blew their load, for lack of a better term, and when they beat the Yankees? Because like I said, when you beat your rival in the playoffs, it does feel like the World Series sometimes.
I do think that the bats, besides Springer and a couple other guys, the bats have gone cold. And I know we've talked about it, but I think the pitching is way different from the Yankees to the Mariners.
It's better in terms of setup. I think you guys have a smarter pitching coach that knows how to put these sequences in play to make these guys just uncomfortable.
But I will
at the
say
plate.
them bats are getting hot for the Mariners, man. I'm telling you.
That 3-runner from Julio yesterday was nice.
And my other question is, now that the Dodgers are up a game, which you can hear game 2 right here today, starting at 5:08.
Absolutely.
What do you think about this series?
Dodgers picking up a key win against the Brewers in game 1. 100%.
Was it 8 innings pitched?
This one's going to be tough for you, though. They have your number. They really do. I don't know exactly what it is about this Brew Crew team that just plays the Dodgers well, but maybe it's just their ability to just tighten up when they need to, especially defensively. They had a beautiful double play yesterday that I wish I could show you video because my explaining of it could not do it justice, to be honest with you. But picking up a big win, Blake Snell is going to be that main factor for you, I think, in this series to get you guys the win. This one's going to go 6 or 7, though.
I think so.
This
And
one's going to go hard.
You'll be able to hear all the games right here. In my quick review of Tron, I will say one of the best movies out this year.
Really?
I personally think, I know there's a lot of Rotten Tomatoes bashing the movie, but if you grew up watching or playing Tron, this movie only goes back to the old version of Tron and the video game, but the story is written. And I know people hate Jared Leto. I love the guy, but personally, I think it was a great cast of this movie.
I did like how they went back to the visuals of the first one. You even get like the original light cycle, and it looks
when he gets locked into the game or in the computer,
but it's different. Like it's not you really get the best of both the first movie and Legacy.
Exactly. And if you're a big movie buff, I would go see that in 3D at the Maya Theater because it is worth it.
I'm going to have to do that. I got to go see Poltergeist yesterday at the Fox, and that was fantastic as well. So much fun. We'll get out of here for the day. This has been the Early Bird Special. We're getting out of the way for the great Rich Eisen. Sparky, let's get out of here.